He went into the storm to escape his past. But what he found was a creature more broken than himself. Yukon Wilderness, Northern Canada, February. Temperature, -22 degrees Celsius. Snowstorm. The wind didn't howl, it screamed. Glawed at the shuttered windows of the cabin like something alive and angry. Inside, Thomas Riker sat hunched near the dying glow of his cast-iron stove, the only warmth left in his world. He hadn't spoken aloud in days, no one to talk to, no reason to. It had been 15 years since the accident, since the ice took Claire. He still wore her silver locket around his neck, still heard her laugh in the silence. But time didn't heal, not out here. It just dulled the edges, until sorrow became survival. The storm had raged since morning. Snow piled against the cabin door. Thomas stood, joints creaking, and forced it open just enough to peer into the white abyss. The woods beyond his clearing were barely shadows now, trees bent beneath the weight of winter. Then movement. He squinted. Something dark against the white, stumbling, falling. A wolf. No, smaller. A pup. Thomas grabbed his coat and rifle, heart thudding from habit, not fear. He stepped into the storm, boots vanishing in the drift. The wind bit into him, but he pressed forward. 30 yards from the tree line, he found it. A wolf pup, barely a season old, soaked and shivering. Blood staining the snow beneath its hind leg. It lifted its head, eyes wild, but didn't run. Couldn't. Thomas knelt. "What the hell are you doing out here alone?" He could see the tracks, now larger prints beside the pups. Adults gone, abandoned. Or worse, the storm growled louder as if answering the question. Thomas wrapped the pup in his coat, closed against his chest. It whimpered but didn't resist. He turned back, bracing against the wind, trudging step by aching step toward the cabin. The storm swallowed the trail behind them, the silence between them. 2 days later, the storm has passed. Trees cracked with cold. The sky is iron gray. The pup wouldn't eat at first. It only watched him, amber eyes locked, wounded leg tucked in close. Thomas didn't push. He knew better than to rush. Trust it was the same with people once. He cleaned the wound as best he could. It wasn't deep but infected. He boiled snow for water, soaked strips of his own shirt in it, and wrapped the leg gently. The pup flinched, growled faintly, then went quiet again. The silence wasn't empty anymore. In the evenings, Thomas would sip his tea beside the fire. The pup curled just far enough away to pretend it wasn't seeking warmth. Claire's old radio played static in the background. Sometimes a song cut through a memory that hurt more than the cold. He named the pup Ash. For the color of his coat, for what was left after the fire. By the 5th day, Ash limped to his food bowl. Start outside, the world was white and still. Inside, something else had begun to move. Shadows in the snow. The forest whispers again. Something is watching. Tracks near the tree line. Large, circular. Not wolf. Thomas saw them early one morning while chopping wood. They hadn't been there the night before. He crouched beside the print, jaw tight. Bear, maybe? A bear should be sleeping. Less hunger or madness had woken one early. Ash barked from the doorway, ears back. Not a friendly sound. Thomas scanned the trees. Nothing moved. But the stillness was wrong. He kept the rifle closer now. At night he set up small snares, less for meat than for warning. But what returned wasn't a bear. It was the pack, 3 wolves. Thin, starved eyes, haunted by the same winter that had scarred everything else. Ash growled low when he saw them outside the window. Thomas didn't move. Didn't breathe. One wolf larger, black-coated. Maybe the mother came within 10 feet of the cabin. She stared, not at Thomas, but at Ash. Then she turned and vanished back into the trees. Ash sat beside the door for hours after, staring out. Thomas finally spoke. "You're not mine, are you?" Ash didn't look back. Rust is a fragile thing. Letting go even more so. Ash healed, slowly but surely. His limp faded to a memory. He began to explore the edge of the clearing, sniffing the trees, pausing as if listening for something he couldn't quite name. Each night when the fire burned low and Thomas sat in silence with his tea and the weight of old thoughts, Ash would walk to the door, sit, and raise his muzzle to the sky. He began to howl at night, not mournfully, but with a voice that seemed to reach, to ask. It wasn't the hollow cry of pain or fear. No, it was something deeper searching. His howl rose slowly, coiling into the frigid night like a question the earth couldn't answer. It moved through the trees like wind through bare branches, curling toward the stars with an ancient kind of hope. The sound brushed against the moonlight, gentle and raw, as if the pup believed someone somewhere was listening. It didn't sound like sadness. It sounded like longing, like instinct cracking open into memory. Thomas listened each time, unmoving, not just to the howl, but to what lay beneath it. The aching silence between each note. The need to remember, to reconnect, to belong. It stirred something deep inside him, something he'd locked away when the river took Claire. Ash was healing, changing. And so quietly was he. Spring comes slowly in the north. The melt began with a whisper. Drips from the roof. Birds returning. Thomas chopped wood again, not for survival, but for habit, for rhythm. He found paw prints some mornings near the edge of the woods, never too close. One night, he stepped outside with a cup of tea and looked at the stars. A distant howl cut across the sky. Low, familiar. Thomas smiled. Grief hadn't left him, but it had changed. It had softened into something that could live beside love, not smother it. Ash was out there, alive, part of the wild again. And so was Thomas, in a way. He wasn't just surviving now.